Hello, 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 and welcome to the Babe Bulletin podcast, where we talk self love, empowerment, boudoir, and anything else that makes us feel like a total babe. My name is Alicia. I'm a boudoir photographer and a body liberation expert. And today we're getting a little bit personal. I wanted to share my journey with chronic pain and what I've been dealing with for the last some years. And if you're dealing with the same thing and maybe an episode on pain and frustration would be a little bit too much to handle, I'm giving you an out right now. Feel free to come back to this episode when maybe you're feeling a little bit better. But otherwise, yeah, we're going to be talking about my body and the ways it's been really, well, pardon my French, but fucking me over for the last 2 years. And the frustration that has come with that. Because I love to talk about body acceptance. Body liberation is my whole jam. And I thought I was making huge strides towards body acceptance in terms of aesthetics and the way that I looked. And then when my body stopped functioning at the level I wanted it to, that just brought on a whole onslaught of new problems and stuff I had to work on, and let's talk about it. So, we're just going to jump right in. For me, my chronic pain affects my joints. My feet, my knees, and my back have been the main culprits and the ones giving me the most problems. My shoulders, that's a new development. Those now really hurt. My collarbones hurt pretty much every day. And then sometimes I have issues with my hands and one of my elbows. So that's been fun. And this all started back in March of 2023. I remember I was out gardening and I thought that maybe I just tweaked something and that's why I was really sore. And then the soreness never went away. So I've tried to figure out why. And I have been on this journey of trying to figure out why for, well, yeah, like some years now. I don't know, 2 years and a couple of months, I guess. Makes just day-to-day stuff really not fun. I live in a 2-story house and going up and down the stairs, at least a couple years ago, was a nightmare. I can't wear a lot of certain shoes because I have to have these like special insoles to keep my feet happy. I just felt like I couldn't go for long walks. I mean, I couldn't go for long walks because my back would be like screaming at me to stop and I'd have to take breaks and stretch. And even that wouldn't really help. And it's just been exhausting. And honestly, it's kind of made me feel insane. I'm sure other people who are dealing with chronic pain know exactly what I'm talking about, where nobody can see it. It's not like I'm physically injured and I'm like, here, this is my broken arm. Everyone can see my broken arm. It's all internal. And I feel like people have to just take my word for it. And that's very frustrating because I don't know how much they believe me. I don't even know if my expectation for where my pain should be is like normal compared to other people. Does that make sense? Like in my brain, I'm thinking maybe I'm being a big baby about this. Maybe this isn't as bad as I think. Certainly there are people who are worse off than me. Why am I complaining? Why don't I just get over it? Why don't I just push through? And not having anyone able to like feel what I'm feeling to kind of confirm or validate if I am genuinely in enough pain, you know, to be frustrated. It's very isolating. I feel very like I have, at least over the last 2 years, I felt very lonely because nobody can feel what I'm feeling. And I don't know how to describe it to them. I mean, when I do go to the doctor and they're like, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your pain at? I'm like, what does that question even mean? I don't know how to even answer that. Which part of my body are we talking about? And is a 10 like the worst pain I've ever felt? Is a 10 the worst pain I've ever felt specifically in my joints? Is it the worst pain any human being could feel? Like, I just, I don't know. I don't know how to answer these questions sometimes, and it makes me feel really alone. And it's just an incredibly annoying and frustrating feeling to be going through all of this. Especially when I thought I was in a place where I'm like, oh, I have such a good relationship with my body now. Like, we're on the same page. I exercise because I enjoy it. I move my body in ways that are fun. And and chronic pain like took all of that away from me. So, it's been just a shitty journey. It's been a rough time. And living with it on a daily basis, like I said, it's just exhausting because you have good days and you have bad days and you never know which day is going to be what. And you always have to try to be thinking ahead of like, okay, is this going to be a bad day? Do I have ice packs ready to go? How much Advil do I have? Should I preemptively take something? How do I prepare for this? It's just frustrating. It's so annoying. And I feel like I'm going to use that word frustrating so much, but I am struggling to come up with another adjective for how it feels, especially if you've like haven't really dealt with this. We'll be coming back to that word probably a lot. Frustrating. It's so frustrating. And it takes its mental toll. There's a mental load to this that I don't see really discussed very often. All of the planning, all of the prep, all of the thinking like, what do I need to get done today? How do I need to prep for the pain that's going to come along with what I need to get done today? How is this going to affect my mood? Am I going to be in a good mood? Is it going to be a very draining day? There's just already so much we have to think about and plan on a regular basis. And then trying to figure out how your pain is going to factor into that. Whole nother story. Even more piling onto the like to-do list that you need to keep track of. And I have found that to be really exhausting. The other thing that I'm very much struggling with is, I don't know, maybe grief is the right word, but just longing. I'll say like a longing for the body that I did have, the one that could go to Zumba for an hour and it not be a problem, the one that people, could go for long hikes in the woods and not have a problem, the one that didn't need to keep the medicine cabinet stocked with pain meds all of the time. Like, I long for that body, and it's kind of devastating that it's gone. Ooh, I thought I was ready to talk about this and not get emotional, but it's hard not to. Because I know that version of me is never coming back. Like, she's just gone forever. And the goal is to get back to a place where I can do these things. And I think I am actually getting there. I really do. But I know that we'll never return to who I was like 3 years ago. And that's, that is quite the bummer. So, on top of like the way that this pain is affecting me physically, there's and mentally, there's this whole emotional factor as well that I never really thought about in terms of people dealing with chronic pain or illness. It really does take a huge toll on you emotionally because you just can't do the things that you used to do. And my doctor, he says, we're striving to get better, but not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. We're never going to get to a point where I can, wipe my hands and say, woo, we did it. I'm never going to feel joint pain ever again. And I also know that the older I get, like the worse this is going to become. And that's just a reality that I am struggling to accept. So all of that just culminates into this big clusterfuck of nastiness. And that's what it's like living with this on a daily basis. So it's like I'm out here trying to preach self-love and acceptance, and I'm dealing with all of this at the same time. And it's not been fun. And if you're dealing with chronic pain or chronic illness of any kind, I'm sure you're sitting there and you're nodding in your head and you're like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Because no one's walking around here waving flags and throwing confetti like, ooh, I love this. I love that my joints hurt all of the time. This is so fun. I have to shift the way that I feel about my body. I have to shift the way that I think about my body, which is something that I've talked about a lot in terms of aesthetically, right? A lot of the things that we end up hating about ourselves are just conditioned beliefs, and we have to shift the way we feel about those things. Stretch marks, cellulite, fat, etc., etc. Um, and that's really been where I thrive, as a body liberation person. I was like, oh, we're really only just focusing on the aesthetics, and now it's like, surprise, we're gonna have to think about performance as well, and like how our body functions as well, and that adds just a whole nother level to this whole mind shift thing. So I am trying so hard, although it is certainly not easy, to realize that my body is doing its best with what we've got going on. I'm doing my best, and I'm not a very patient person. And dealing with chronic pain and trying to figure out what's going on just takes so long. At least in my experience, it has taken so long to get to a point where we think we know what's going on. And I'm just trying to remember that, like, okay, my body's doing its best and I'm doing my best, even if this is taking a long time. I thought maybe it was something like strength wise or muscle wise. So I did physical therapy for 4 months. I paid for that out of pocket. I went and saw my like general practitioner doctor. He was absolutely useless, did not help me at all. Switched doctors, had to find a new doctor then who actually would help me. She recommended I go to see a rheumatologist, so I did that, and now I've been working with them consistently for a couple months now. And I think we're starting to finally see improvements, but good lord, it has taken so long to get here. Not to mention, in between all of that, I've just been like buying and trying random stuff. Oh, this vitamin is supposed to help. Okay, I'll start taking this vitamin. Oh, get these foot braces. They're supposed to help. Buy the knee braces. Get the special ice packs. Here's an acupuncture mat you should be laying on. Here's a different kind of pain med you can try, etc., etc., etc. And it is overwhelming. And like I said, it requires so much patience, which I just don't have. This is just not a quality I possess. So all of that is going on, all of these changes and all of these like trying new things. And I have to remember that when they don't work, it's not a failure. It's a result of me trying my best. I am trying. And when they don't work, it is not a moral failure. It is not a failure on me. It just didn't work. And then we can try something new. And I don't know how y'all who have been dealing with this stuff for years and years and years are still going, but I guess that's just the world that I'm in now, and I'm gonna have to keep trucking along and trying my best. And finding value in my body despite it not functioning at its best has really been my new goal. I mean, I guess the one silver lining is I don't have very much time to really think about how my body looks and doesn't meet societal expectations because it's just in pain all of the time and I'm focused on that instead. So we're figuring it out, and I'm learning to value this body as it is right now and trying to figure out the way that I can care for it the best. That is the new goal. I'm so not worried about changing anything aesthetically on it. I just want to be able to move it again. That's the new goal. It's very complicated. I have a lot of gratitude for my body and everything that it's done and everything that I've accomplished with it. I'm so grateful. And then at the same time, I'll come back to that adjective I've already used like a dozen times, but it's frustrating. It is frustrating as heck. And I'm still trying to figure out how to exist with those two emotions happening at the same time. Something I guess I should bring up in my next therapy appointment because it's very confusing to have both of those things existing at the same time. If you're dealing with chronic pain in the same way that I kind of am, I'm sure you have felt an outward push to hustle, to grind, to fix this. And it just adds a whole nother level of exhaustion. The whole like play through the pain kind of mentality. That's like what I grew up with hearing. It's bullshit. It just is. I mean, maybe if I was like, I don't know, a professional NFL player making millions of dollars a year, I'd be a little more incentivized, but even still, it's not good for your body to do that. So when I'm in pain, I am trying really hard to listen to it and acknowledge that, oh, this is a time to rest, not to hustle. For me, being plus size almost adds another element to that because there's this unspoken rule that you can only be plus size if you're also checking these boxes. Like, okay, you work out, you eat healthy, you do X, Y, and Z. Then it's okay for you to be plus size because at least you're doing these things. You're following the rules that you're following the rules of society. Like, oh, well, maybe you're not losing any weight, but at least you're doing X, Y, and Z. And what happens when that goes away? So I went from working out and doing cardio 3 times a week to like pretty much none. I stretch every single day. I go for walks. And even though there was a period of time where I could not even go for long walks, we'd hit 1 mile and I would be just done. And I have to lay down on the couch. Like the exercises that I was doing on a regular basis, I couldn't make it through a Zumba class without stopping after every other song to just like take a break. I needed my back to calm down before I could do the next song. And there were so many moves that I couldn't do. And I had to modify, which for me, as someone who's been doing Zumba and cardio dance for like, oh my God, like 15 years or something at this point, modifying one of those moves suck my dick. I did not want to do it. I did not want to modify. I knew how to do the move and I wanted to do it the way I was supposed to be doing it. And even with the instructor saying, yeah, modify if you need to. And even with me preaching to other people, modify if you need to, move in a way that feels good. I didn't want to do that. I certainly did not want to take my own advice because I felt like I had to bring it. I had to exercise 3 times a week. I had to do X, Y, and Z in order to be a good plus size person. And then when that was gone, well, who am I? Like now I feel like I'm falling into the stereotype that every person who hates someone who's plus size speaks. I'm falling into that narrative. Oh, you're lazy. You don't work out. You don't do cardio. You don't lift weights. Blah, 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 blah. I was struggling to go downstairs. Like, no, none of that was going to be something I was capable of doing. And I hated it. I hated that I was falling into that narrative. I hated that I felt like a stereotype. And that was something that I had to really work on and be like okay with and say, no, that mentality, that narrative is BS. And it's okay for you to take a break and not do this while we figure out what's going on. When I quit my gym membership, I cried in the car on the way home because I was so sad. Plus, I was like leaving friends and I had such a good relationship with this class. It was devastating. I felt guilty. I didn't want to rest. Oh, there was just like a flood of emotions that came with that, which I'm clearly still not over. You can probably hear my voice cracking because it still like bothers me in a way. But that's why we're talking about this because there is no end goal with a lot of like self-love stuff and body acceptance stuff. There is no like crossing the finish line. That doesn't really happen. It's always an ongoing journey. And if you're listening to this right now, guess what? We are in the middle of my ongoing journey. This is what it's like at this point in time. I'm still moving forward, but I'm still learning a lot and trying to figure out how to deal with these feelings and emotions and frustrations. And we're just trucking along. So that hence all of the crying, because I'm still not like, I haven't fully accepted it yet, I don't think. screw it. Even if I do fully accept it, I think I'm still going to be bummed out that this is happening. So I'm still learning to listen to my body. I'm still coming to terms with accepting that this is a radical act of self-love, taking a break and not working out, and pivoting how I move my body, which is now basically stretching every single day. And I still do some of my PT exercises, and we're trying to get back to a point where I can move more. Like, that is a radical act of self-love. And I'm going to keep saying that to myself so that I actually believe it eventually. And I'm saying it out loud so that you believe it too. Because, God, we live in a culture that just demands productivity all of the time, which isn't possible for anyone, really, let alone folks who are sick or hurting most of the time. It can't be done. It just can't be done. So we're going to poo-poo on that narrative, and I'm going to figure out how to cope with what I got going on right now. So for me, coping with all of this, it's about pacing and honoring my limits, which, God, that took a long time to be okay with. Like I said, modifying Zumba moves was not for me, and that would have been an example of pacing that I should have done a year ago. But now, I think I'm better at it now. I think I've come a long way in terms of body kindness and acknowledging that I got to talk to myself the same way that I would talk to a friend who was dealing with all of this. I am going to refine the way that I think about health, because now pain is just a part of it. So what can I be doing so that I can function at my best, not function without pain? Like, the pain is just going to be there in some way most of the time. So how can I function so that I feel the best I possibly can? I've been doing some stuff like, cutting back on alcohol, because I've heard that's very inflammatory. I'm seeing my rheumatologist now, who thinks that I have arthritis. Woo! Apparently that's caused by HS. So that's what we got going on. Trying some new pain meds, switching things up, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. This is how I'm treating my body with kindness, by doing these things for it. And that's how I'm redefining health, by doing these things as well. And being okay with not being perfectly without pain. That's just the way it's going to be. I give myself permission now to slow down and to take my breaks, which took me a long time to be okay with. And I find joy just in small things. Like this morning when I got up, I walked down the stairs and I was like, oh, hey, my knees actually feel pretty good today. I am not experiencing that much pain. Woo! I took a video where I was able to do a squat and kind of sit all the way down on my knees. I was able to do that a few months ago, and I recorded it because I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't been able to do this in so long, which to anyone else who's not experiencing stuff like this, you'd probably see me and think, yeah, that's not that big of a deal. But it was a really big deal to me, and I recorded it because I was so excited. So I'm trying to find those little things, like a little moment where, oh, I'm able to do something that feels good, or that maybe I couldn't do before, and just acknowledge that those things are happening. That's been helping a lot in terms of at least my mental health. So finding pleasure in things also that just aren't even pain dependent at all, getting back into art, seeing my friends a lot, things like that. All of that has been really beneficial and kind of restoring joy back in my life. And I 10 out of 10 recommend you find things like that as well. Things that are not reliant on how much or how little pain you're in. Find those things and stick with them. And through all of this, it's just been an interesting time in terms of trying to remember that I'm not less valuable because of all of this. I'm not any less of a person because of all of this. We just are pivoting, and we're finding something else, and I have to be okay with this being an ongoing journey that I deal with for the rest of my life. That's just where we're at. It doesn't mean I'm less of a person. It also doesn't mean that I'm not strong. Strength doesn't just have to be a physical thing. It can come in other forms, resilience, creativity, compassion. I think there's strength in all of that. And, of course, my body's worth is not determined by my appearance either, which has changed. If I'm not moving as much, yeah, my body's changed a little bit in 2 years. And that's just the way that it is. That's just the way that it has to be. If I'm going to give myself some time to rest while I heal and figure out what's going on, then I have to be okay with my body changing at the same time. The two kind of go hand in hand for most people. At least they certainly do for me. So these are some things that I'm remembering. These are the reminders that I'm giving myself, and of course the reminders that I'm giving you as well if you're dealing with the same thing. So as we wrap up, if I could go back to 2 years ago and give myself some advice, it would be, you got to work on your patience. You have to find a way to be okay with letting go of some of these things. And the sooner you do that, the better you'll be off, because you can move on to finding other things. And just to find some form of kindness that I wasn't really giving myself at the time. That's probably what I would go back and tell myself. My body might be a little bit messed up, but it is still mine, and it is doing its best. It's doing the best it can. So we just gotta roll with that, and that's the way that it goes. I don't have some kind of like big aha moment or like, and the moral of the story is, because there isn't one, like I said, this is just an ongoing thing that I'm dealing with, and if you're in the same boat, I hope hearing another person talked about it has maybe brought you a little levity or made you feel a little less alone, because again, this is so isolating. And that's really all I wanted to do with this episode. I just wanted to share what I'm going through and how frustrating it is, and let you know that, we're in this together. We're in this together. Before we get to the Babe of the Week, if you want to support the work that I'm doing at Buxom Boudoir, you can find me all over on social media at Buxom Boudoir, and then my website is www.buxomboudoir.com. If you're curious about how your relationship to food and dieting has affected your body image, I do have a mini course available as well called the Anti-Diet Starter Kit, and you can check that out. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe and share with other people. I'm really bad at this like self-promotion stuff, but make sure you like the Babe Bulletin, subscribe if you can. We're all over the place on just about every podcast provider of choice. And now it is time for the Babe of the Week. Woo woo! I am not like the biggest baseball person in the world, although go Brewers, they're kicking butt. However, I still came across the story of, and I hope I'm saying her name correctly, Jen Powell, I think it's Paywall. She is the first woman to umpire in a regular season MLB game. That is so cool. Obviously, I gotta shout out any woman who is kicking butt in a male-dominated field. And I think it's so cool that she is getting to ump in an MLB game. It was between the Braves and the Marlins, and I don't really have too much more to say about it. I just wanted to shout her out because I think it's really, really cool that we have a female umpire now in the MLB. I think that's so cool. I watched her video of her walking out, and just like the pride and joy that she had on her face, I could not help but to smile right along with her. It has nothing to do with chronic pain. Sorry, it doesn't tie into the episode, but it just happened, and I think it's really, really cool. So I wanted to shout her out, and I hope that she continues to umpire in the MLB. I'm so excited for her. So thank you so much for listening, and, I'll leave you with the same reminder that I always do, which is your body is a good body, even if it hurts all of the time. Bye!